changing lives.
Exciting episode of Real Talk here in the studios of Hope TV Ghana. My name is Evie, the usual host for the show every Wednesday as we come on your screen on Hope TV, your preferred and favorite Christian station. As usual, we have a story on the table. You know, we always encourage you to send us your story, and whatever you're going through. Career-wise, relationship, mother-daughter relationship, finance, friends, dynamics, everything that you're going through in life. We encourage you to send your story to us because we believe that finding the right people to have the right conversation is halfway to the solution. And so now people share their problems with, unfortunately, the wrong people. They get the wrong advice. They find themselves in even worse situation than they began off with. And so today, a young lady has thought it wise to send her story to us. And so I would ask you to also do same. If you do have a story or a topic for us to discuss, you can send it to us on our WhatsApp number, our email address. You can even send it to us on Instagram or even Facebook. And we will do well to find you the right people to have the right conversation. Please remember we are live on Facebook and YouTube, Hope TV Ghana. Join the conversation live by leaving your comments under the comment section, and I will do my best to read some of your comments as the discussion progresses. Pastor, or being a pastor, is a calling. I've heard this several times. You don't go into it as a business venture. Well, we can say some people are, but if we are trying to go according to God's way, if you're trying to be the good pastors that we want in society, we believe that you should be called into the ministry because it's not easy. It's not something that you can just get up and do away with, get up and say, oh, I want to do this, and change your mind as and when. You've been called to lead people. You've been called to usher people into God's kingdom. And so I believe that you should allow God to be the one to direct that particular path. And so the question I would ask is, when a man decides, or when a man is called by God, is his wife also called by God? Is she also expected to fill in a particular role? Is she expected to be supporting the husband in this specific ministry? Or she's allowed to do whatever she was doing before her husband was called? Another thing that came to mind when I saw the story, this calling, is it something that you're called as you grow up? Is it a calling that comes to you maybe when you're older? Is it a calling that comes and goes? And we are trying to find all these answers to the questions because the woman is in dire need of our help. Before we go into our story, I want to introduce our panelists to you. And I'm going to start off by those that I have in the studio. I'm going to start off by Pastor Elon. Pastor Elon's face is very, very familiar on this TV station. Everybody knows him. Today he's on Real Talk, and he's going to have a real conversation. And so we will start with Pastor Elam. He will say hi to us and how his week has been. He's a church pastor, obviously, for Prince of Peace Adventist Church, Mamponse. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
Pastor Elam. It's so good to have you on the show today.
Nice.
Finally, you're on Real Talk.
Sure.
That's good. How's your week been?
My week has been a very stressful one, with a bit of counseling here and there. Yeah, so it's been a tough one, but I'm glad to. The moment I saw the question, in fact, the issue that came, I was all fired up, psyched up to come to share with viewers what I also have. I'm glad to be here.
It's so good to have you. So good to have you. I have a lady in the studio, Abigail Asari. She's from Bubuashi SDHS. Abigail, how are you doing?
Very well.
Your week?
It's been okay. A little bit stressful.
Oh, Charlie.
Because we're in Accra, we can't do away with the stress.
I know, right?
It's a daily routine. You just have to go through it.
But it's Wednesday, so we are halfway through.
Yes.
So you're waiting for Friday. Yeah. It's so good to have you, Abigail.
Thank you. Joining
me virtually is Eunice Okonobia. I'd like to say Eunice is Osofo Maame. So Eunice will probably have a first-hand experience in this that she'll share with us. Eunice is joining us from Valley View University Church, Techiman. Eunice, how are you doing?
Evie, I'm fine.
Hi.
And you?
Oh, Eunice, your volume is low. I can hear you, but not well. I don't know if it's from me or it's from you.
I'm very fine, and you?
I'm fine too, thank you. How are you? How is your husband, the family, and how is the church?
Everyone is doing very well.
Everyone is doing very well. It's so good to have you, Eunice. It's so good to see you again.
Yeah, I'm also happy to be here again.
Oh, that's nice. So we will just take a look at our story, which we have titled, He Wants to Be a Pastor and Expects Me to Be Osofo Maame. That is the first lady of the church, if I should say. And she starts by saying, Dear Real Talk, I need help to manage my situation well, or else I will lose my marriage. My husband and I have been married for just a year. Before I met him, he was a banker, until recently where he said he believes God has called him to be a pastor. Honestly, this came as a shock to me because there was no indication whatsoever that he wanted to go into ministry, not to talk of being a pastor. Initially, when he said this, I even thought he meant getting closer to God and being more involved in the church and God's work. But this is not the case. He's actually going to resign next month and start theology school. This is like a dream. My main concern is I don't want to be an Osofo Maame, first lady of the church. I have never been interested in that role, and I don't see myself ever being comfortable acting as such. Besides, my profession is a makeup artist or beautician, if I may say. I know immediately my husband becomes a pastor, he will ask me to stop and join him fully in the service, and I don't see myself doing that. I understand he has a calling, but I don't have same calling. I am not a bubbly personality, and people who don't know me think I am stuck up. How can I, with such a personality trait, become Osofo Maame? I have made him aware of my concerns, but he says it's a strong desire that has been placed on his heart, and he believes it's from God. I asked him if he will be comfortable with me being my own self, keeping my profession, and supporting him in the background. He said no, because people will question it, and that might cause issues in his ministry. Is this a recent desire, or he's been hiding this from me all this while? Must I become Osofo Maame just because my husband woke up and decided to be a pastor? How is this fair? Why must I quit my job because of this recent desire? Is this how I am expected to be changing my life whenever he has different desires? And he is claiming my reluctance to support him, joining him and quitting my job shows that I don't love him enough. Please help me. What should I do? Is the only option separation or divorce at this point? Okay, so obviously this is a very serious story or conversation because her marriage is just 1 year. And now she's thinking, if I don't go into ministry with my husband, then it's going to lead to separation, or maybe we'll even divorce. And she is not seeing herself as Osofo Maame, who is going to quit her job, beautician or makeup artist, and join the ministry and be supporting her husband fully. Pastor.
Sure.
What is going through your mind? What is your general take on this story?
Okay, so I have a lot of issues going on in my mind with respect to the decision of the man.
Okay.
As to how it affects the lady and how the lady is also taking the whole matter. I think that I have some questions that I wish I could ask the man.
Okay.
And these were questions that the moment I read the story came up. For instance, what is the basis for the conviction for the calling? Okay, what makes you feel or think that you have been called? I think that he needs to clarify that one, because from what the lady is saying, it looks as if she's not even sure of the fact that the man is actually convicted. Because if he says that, okay, when it's just a desire. So it looks like she doesn't really feel the man is called. And then I also thought that, okay, so before you resign, I think he needs to ask himself and to actually communicate his vision well to the wife.
Okay.
I feel the wife feel imposed upon. Okay, I didn't ask for this. I married a banker. Now I am going to be Osofo Maame. It's a very big deal, and I can understand, and I agree with her to feel this way because she's going to take on a whole new role. It's like she's going to become someone totally different. So I can understand where she's coming from, but I think we are here to help her.
We are here to help her. Before I go to Abigail, I wanted to ask, let's discuss this calling of being a pastor. Is it sudden, or is it something that you know as you're growing up, you know, it's on your heart, the Lord has called you to be a pastor, and as you're growing up, every step you take is towards it. Is it, you know, when we are growing up and they say, oh, I want to be a pilot, I want to be, is it one of those things? Okay, so or when you've already grown and you're like, you know, I think Jesus is calling me.
Okay, so I can't speak for all pastors. I can speak for myself.
Right.
Okay, now, when I was a child, like you're saying, I always knew I wanted to be a pastor. Whenever I'm asked, I'll say a pastor and a lawyer. Okay, then later I said a pastor or a lawyer. Now I'm like, okay, I want to be a pastor. But even when I actually completed the seminary, it took me time to actually come in because that was when reality dawned on me that I'm actually going to be a pastor.
Right.
So it took 5 years.
Oh, wow.
For me to actually come. And it's not that, you see, one question that I think people who feel called need to ask themselves is that, what am I being called to? You see, what am I being called to? Because I think one question that this pastor to be needs to be able to answer is that, am I being called to become a pastor, or I have been given a ministry? There's a difference between pursuing a ministry for God and being a pastor. And who says you can only minister to God or work for God until you become that pastorly figure? You understand? So I think that a lot of people, if he's not careful, he would have a lot of regret, because there are a lot of people who felt that I can preach. Okay, I know I can teach. So because of that, I have to become a pastor. But then he's a bad leader. He's a bad administrator. Pastoral ministry comes with a whole lot that I think he needs to sit and then assess, especially when the lady says, it's only a year.
Yes.
Okay, it's only a year. So when did that calling, did you dream? How did so I think that the lady needs to sit him down, try to understand him. What makes you feel called? Because I'm with you. We got married, it's been a year. Nothing about ministry. So what happened? I think it will get the guy to get into a mode of self-introspection, and then to really help him to be able to assess himself, whether he is really, he is really called. So for me, when it comes to your calling, no one can actually deny or affirm that you are called. You are the only one who can determine whether you are called.
Right. Thank you. I think that explains it for us. Abigail, what is your general take on the story? What is going through your mind?
So when I read the story for the first time, for me it was funny, and I thought there is no issue. But then I read it for the second time, and I was like, this could be a basis for their separation or divorce. Because we may see it on the lighter note, but the lady is not taking it on the lighter note at all. And how are we even sure that it's indeed God that is calling this man? Because you can't just wake up one day and tell us you've had a calling from God, and okay, fine. As Pastor said, you can go into evangelism. Why do you want to be a pastor? You can be preaching. That one too is a call from God. So for me, I was looking at it from that angle, and also how well does the woman know the husband? Is he someone who picks up a role and goes through till the end, or he gets to the middle and then he's there? How serious is he about all these stuff? So this is a serious matter. It's indeed a serious.
Before we go to that, Osofo Maame joining us today, looking at the woman's concerns, her profession, and being a makeup artist, a beautician, and looking at our church, do you think that she can be on the side and then also be an Osofo Maame? Or you think that will be a bone of contention, being very honest?
I think an Osofo Maame can be anything. Because what is wrong with being a makeup artist? I think maybe the first thing we should look at is what are the obligations of an Osofo Maame?
Right.
What is in there that she thinks she can't do? Because for me, doing makeup or being a beautician has nothing to do with God and your husband's ministry.
Coming to the Osofo Maame, I don't know if Eunice can hear me, but Eunice, I would ask for your general take on the story. I think Eunice, oh, it looks like Eunice can't hear me. I think her network is giving her problems. But Pastor, as Abigail said, she doesn't think there's a problem. Do you think there are certain professions that are not recommended for an Osofo Maame?
Okay, so Evie, I'll be very blunt about this and direct. I'll not beat around the bush. You see, let me put it this way. Any job that my wife, who is also an Osofo Maame, she cannot do, then none of the members within her women's ministry can also do. Okay. So if she can't do it, why is it that she can't do it? Because she's Osofo Maame, because she's close to God, because she's supposed to be an example. Right. Why can't she do it? You understand? So if she can't do it, then no woman who is a Christian should also be able to do it. It is like saying that, okay, because I am a pastor, there are some things I can't do, but because I am a member, I can do it. Okay, we are all representatives of God. We are all ambassadors of God. So I think the question we need to ask is that, is there anything wrong with being a beautician or a makeup artist? Okay, does it break any biblical codes? That is why she can't do it. Because for me, the idea that because of my occupation, I can't be an Osofo Maame, as she is saying, then I think we need to ask ourselves, what is wrong about being a beautician? Okay, and then is it something any Christian can do? Is it something a shepherdess can do? Okay, but then I will not want you to wonder so much. And I think some viewers may scold me for this. But I think that within the context of whether you eat or drink, whatever you do to the glory of God, I believe that you can be a Christian beautician, you can be an Osofo Maame beautician. I mean, before we started, you were made up. I was made up. She was also made up. We don't have beauticians amongst us who will make us up. I think Hope may even employ her. Okay. Yeah, so for me, I don't think that you see, it's not about what you do, but how you do it. Right. Okay, it's not about what you do. So for me, I believe that a Christian, an Osofo Maame, a woman, an Adventist can be a beautician.
So there are no specific, because Pastor, I've heard, Osofo Maame she has to be a teacher, she has to be a nurse, so that when they are transferring her husband, she can follow it. I've heard it. Have you not heard this before? And she has to do those types of jobs so that when they transfer her husband, she can be transferred with her job. So that, people know that, Osofo Maame can take care of the church folks. She can teach the children.
Okay. Now, you know what? Isn't it surprising that it looks like in the past, okay, most pastors were married to either nurses or to teachers. Okay, or business women who could easily move around because of the demands of the work and all that. And I would also accept that indeed, we are not saying that nothing about you will change if you become Osofo Maame. And maybe let me just drop this one in. I hope my wife that does not penalize me. Do you know, I always say that those women, those ladies who say that for me, I'll never marry Osofo, they are the ones who end up marrying Osofo.
But it looks like you're trying to say that.
No, I mean, that's what she actually said. And till today, she said she never imagined it because she actually vowed. I don't know, she was like, for me, Osofo Maame, dear. And even, if anyone asked you in that church where I found her, if let's say I asked the elders a committee to get an Osofo Maame for me, I think she might not have made the list in any way. Okay, because of who, it was not like she was not a good person, no. Yeah, but then they felt that maybe the way she dressed, she didn't wear those long dresses, and you understand.
Yes, I
so
get you.
I think that it was a game changer for her, but she's doing quite well. And I am helping her. She's also helping me.
Right.
You understand?
Right,
So
right.
I think that for an Osofo Maame, she should. Evie, I don't want to, go too far. But you see, I think that our Osofo to be should tread cautiously. Okay. Now, if there is a situation where he feels I am the man of the house, so whatever I say, whatever I decide, it's what goes, he may not only end up losing the woman, but also that ministry that he wants to pursue.
Right.
Okay, that ministry. Because you see, you need to win your wife to your side. I want to believe there's a woman who has fears of the unknown. How is it going to be like?
Right.
Who am I going to be like? I'm sure when he received the call, he had time to pray about it, to think about it, to plan, even to save money, because to go to, seminary, you need money.
Yeah.
You're going to quit your job.
Yes,
So
yes.
you have planned. But you need to allow your woman that room also for her to think, is it something I can do? And let me say this so that the others can also come in. When I met my wife and then she saw that this is a very handsome gentleman, the only thing is about the Osofo thing, which I don't like. I tried to win her, to lure her to my side. And one thing I did was that in that church, there was supposed to be a week-long program for young ladies with program. So I didn't give it to one person. I gave it to 3 people.
Okay.
And I gave her 2 of the days to lead. And she said, I can never stand in front of people. And I helped her. I went through the material with her for like 2 weeks before the time. And when she stood and delivered, everyone was like, you should be doing this more time. So you see, it fired her up that, I can do it.
Right.
So you need to build your woman. You need to encourage her and tease out that gift in her. So, I think that he needs to take time, and probably in time the woman will come to understand him.
Hopefully she will. Eunice is back. I'll quickly take your view. Eunice, what's your general take on the story? And you filling this role in reality, being an Osofo Maame. Can Osofo Maame be a makeup artist, if I should ask you? Or are there any specific jobs that are recommended for Osofo Maame? And if you are an Osofo Maame, must you join the ministry at all costs, being a full-time ministry? Or you can be one that is supporting from the background, being the one that is fasting small, praying for him small, and not necessarily being in front of the entire church or being seen as, the go-to person for the young women or women in general. I think you are muted. I hope that.
Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you.
Yeah, to begin, well, what I would like to say about this story is that, first, to the man, if someone chooses
Hello?
If someone chooses the work of a minister, the person has chosen profession, which I think, if his calling is genuine, then he's on track. And to the lady, maybe there is something that's doing in the house or even in the marriage that is not depicting a true person to the wife. Because, as Pastor Elia said, there should be some character that he's exhibiting for the wife to also be convinced that truly my husband has received a call. But she should forget that chooses those who are weak or those who are fragile to do his work. And about Osofo Maame being a beautician, I know of Osofo Maame who is a beautician, but she can be a godly beautician. Why will I say a godly beautician? Can you hear me?
Yeah. Continue. We are listening.
Yeah. She can be modest in everything she's doing. I don't know if you get me.
Yeah.
Once she begins to work, she'll start knowing her limits. That is, if there are things that she used to do, she can start refraining from it. Time with time, you see that she will be the Osofo Maame beautician she wants to be. And I don't think there's a specific job for.
I think you're muted, or it's me. I can't hear you again. Eunice, can you hear me? Oh, I can't hear. I
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. You were off for a bit.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I was saying that the husband.
I think there's an owl on her network.
The husband cannot do the work alone.
It's probably a bird
Yeah.
sitting on
Please,
the
can you hear me now?
When you say, can you hear me? I can hear
Can
you.
you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, the husband cannot do the work alone.
Right.
The husband must get the full support of the wife in order to do the ministry.
Okay.
As Pastor Elon was trying to explain to us, you can't do the ministry without your wife's support.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's my general take and what I would like to say about it.
Okay. So Osofo Maame is saying that you have to join the ministry and then obviously show full support. You can't, the husband can't do it all by himself. But Abigail, in your opinion, do you think that, okay, let's say you are in a church and they tell you this is the Osofo Maame, but she doesn't do anything in front of anybody. She comes to church, she's with her husband, but she's very, like, almost at the back, almost invisible to the man's ministry. You see her, she smiles, but she's not, you know what, as of Maame, so they'll gather the young women inside. They have their own ministry, they go and visit, you know, everybody can walk up to them and talk. They're everybody's mother. But this lady is clearly saying that, me, when I'm sitting there and even pass by, you think I am not nice, I am stuck up. I can't be the one to be smiling and calling young women and advising them. Do you think that it's possible for Osofo Maame to be in the background while her husband does his thing, or it will affect the ministry in a way? Because the man was saying that if she doesn't support 100%, it will affect his ministry, and so she has to support 100%.
Oh, okay. I think it won't have any effect on the ministry.
Okay.
Because women in general have been supporting from infancy. Yes. So the fact that she's not coming into the limelight doesn't mean she's not supporting from behind. And from the story, the lady is an introvert.
Yes.
And she has a problem with the career. I don't know if that is the only two issues she has.
I think
for her
that's
saying that
that's of Maame.
That's of
yeah, that's
Maame.
the two she stated, her career and then the fact that it's not her calling, like she can't do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So being an introvert isn't an issue, because just imagine an Osofo Maame being an introvert and you go to her, you share your problems with her. It won't go anywhere. She doesn't even have friends.
Right.
Compare that to an Osofo Maame who has a lot of friends. By the time you leave the house,
your issue
it's
has
out there.
traveled.
Yes. And it will be a little problem, because for Osofo, a lot of people will be coming in, approaching him, Osofo this, Osofo that, and he should be welcoming. Because if you are not, they'll take it back then, spreading that Osofo Maame. However, she can stay behind and just be supporting from behind. She shouldn't be out there preaching, supporting the children ministry, the young ladies. Not everyone can do that. Yes, and as an attitude or as a behavior, we learn behavior. Yes, no one grows with a behavior. So it's either from childhood experience or your upbringing, and you can unlearn them. Right. So if she's ready to unlearn the behavior, then she can do something about it.
If she's ready to unlearn. Pastor, can Osofo Maame be an introvert?
Okay, so
Can Osofo Maame sits at the back end?
Now I like
join the congregation. Amen. So fire, dear.
So I like the fact that you said in the background. Can she be in the background?
Yes.
And I say that at least the back is in the ground. So the point I'm trying to make is that everyone have their own spiritual gifts. Okay, we are even talking about an introvert as Osofo Maame, but there are Asofos, pastors who are also introverts.
Oh wow.
Yes, it is not. You see, it is not every pastor who is even made for the pulpit. There are pastors who have special gifts of prayer, people who have gifts of wisdom, people who are administrators. Okay, how is it that sometimes if you're organizing a special program, you would go for a particular pastor because of the particular gift that you believe the person would have. So even for the main person who is leading the call, if they have their own gift, then the wife should also have their own gift. So I believe that everyone is called into ministry. In fact, every Christian is called into ministry, not just the Osofo Maame. It is just that theirs have been officialized, you understand? So I think that for the Osofo Maame, one thing you should do is that if your husband is called into ministry, there is also a ministry place for you. Within his ministry. Sometimes your ministry can be just to support your husband and not the flock.
Oh, okay.
So that I know the kind of prayers my wife prays for me. I think in 2 months ago, I was at KNUST to have a Bible lecture series with them. And I know it was her prayers that carried me through. You understand? Because there were some spiritual attacks and all that, and sometimes I come back at night and we talk and then we pray. So when I'm on pulpit, I know she's praying for me.
Right.
But she didn't have to be there on pulpit with me. You understand? And it is not every Osofo Maame who has to stand on pulpit to preach so that, okay, she is supportive. Some can organize the women during camp meetings. They can be with them, praying with them, taking care of the matter people. Okay, they can host you. Some have that gift. Others too can really pray. I know an Osofo Maame, when she prays, things happen. So when people come to church, they don't go to the Osofo, they go to Osofo Maame. You understand? But I believe that it is the work of the Osofo to help unearth the gift that is in the woman. You see, even when you, the Osofo, received the calling, you chose to accept it. Okay, there are a lot of people who are called into ministry, but they have not. A lot of men. But for the woman, she had no choice. Because of the fact that you are married to her, she has no choice. Okay, so I think that we need to, as men of God, help our wives discover. In fact, there are a lot of Osofo Maames in our day who may not know even their spiritual gifts, and so they go to church and they are misplaced. They don't even know where to. So they are also sitting and they feel like, I have to do something. There is something I have to do. You understand? For instance, in my home, when guests come, my wife knows exactly what to do because she knows how I receive them and how I let them go. So sometimes when she comes and then when they come and I'm not around, she would pray with them. If they would want to share, she would. And if it goes beyond her, she would refer the matter to me and all that. So it's a team. We are a team ministry. So where I am weak, she would come, and where she's not. Let me tell you something, you may not believe me. Most of the beautiful sermons that you enjoy, she edits my sermon. I preach my sermon to her before I preach it to you. So she's my producer, my editor. What have you understand?
Yeah.
And you may not see it, okay, but then she has a ministry. At least she actually ministers to me so that I can also minister to the church. So everyone has a ministry, including the Osofo Maame. So I think also it should be in your plan. I'm talking to you, okay? It should be in your plan to help her. If only you want her to support you, assure her that just as she is going to support you, you would also support her. And the idea about her having to quit her job, I think you may need to speak to a senior minister, someone who is already in ministry.
Right.
To guide you, because I think maybe he might have a wrong, ideology about what Osofo Maame can do and cannot do. So I think he might have to speak to a senior minister to advise them on how to go about it. Okay, yeah.
Right. Before we continue, I want to read some of our comments from Facebook and YouTube. This one is from Jemima Oponefriye, who says, now this is marriage wahala. Personally, I always wonder why most Africans who feel they have been called by God think they have to quit their job. Do theology unless they can be so meaningful about God's work. You can do even more than what some pastors are doing in your church, if indeed that's what he wants to do, which is service to mankind, than being called Osofo every time. Bless marriage and officiate funerals. Now, my dear, you can be who you are and be a pastor's wife. I don't think you are mean or rude to think you can't be. We are all different in terms of personalities, likes, and traits. I would be very disappointed if your husband makes you quit. You can equally be creative in your area to benefit the church. We are even tired of seeing Osofo Maame only being teachers, caterers, and now nurses. Michael Dancer says they should pray about it, especially the man, because if not, divorce will set in. Okay, this is a long one. Reformist Mordecai says this issue both funny and serious, like Abigail was saying. My first inclination is to ask if the guy is certain he's called. How long enough has he discussed this with his wife to make sure the wife is almost at the same page with him? Anything less than the woman's support will ruin his calling. I can swear my neck on this. What are his personal plans? What are his plans for the wife if she agrees? What are his plans for any major setback or difficulty when he makes the switch? What are his expectations? He will be disappointed more than he will be happy. My most important question to him will be, why does he think he must leave his work before he can do ministry? And did God ask him to leave his job to do it? I'm happy the wife knows what she can do and can't. However, at this point, she must also begin to ask how she can also make some adjustments to her life to accommodate the husband's new calling. One thing I will state categorically is that members have some expectations for Osofo Maame. Some right, some wrong. But some of the ideas young ladies also have about being Osofo Maame are wrong. Conclusively, she should also pray about the new development and ask God if he truly called the husband, then he must show her way to fit in. Right, so she should do her own homework. I have a very long one that I'll probably get into the end. But Pastor, someone asked a very important question. Why the man is quitting his job just because he's going into the ministry? Is this a requirement for Adventist pastors? Are you expected to quit your corporate job as being a banker? Okay. You can't be a banker and be Osofo. Looking at it, I think he wants to be the Osofo that is heading a church.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. And I think that is what a lot of people also think, that for you to be Osofo or for you to be ministry, it's all about pastoral ministry. I know some elders are doing very awesome job when it comes to ministry proper. And the idea that you can't even do shepherding. Let me use that word, okay, instead of shepherding, even taking care of a flock without being a pastor, it's actually defeating, because now I know in Accra we have Adventist chaplaincy ministries, and we are really taking over a lot of industries. If I say industry and the chaplains, we have public campus ministries, okay, and there are pastors now who are working within various campuses, and they didn't have to quit their job as teachers.
Okay.
I can name, for instance, Pastor Joseph Kusi, who hosts our Sabbath school. Okay, he's a pastor. He's been given a church, but he's also a teacher. Okay, I can talk about Pastor Dan Somafo, who is a policeman. He works for the government, but he's also a chaplain. He has a church. In fact, the Ghana Police Depot at I think Tesano, he is the chaplain, Adventist chaplain there. Okay, I can name a lot of them. Pastor Lambert, who is into military now, but he's a chaplain. And we also have workplace chaplaincy. So talk about other institutions like the banks and all that. It's a workplace. So you can still be a pastor and then work there. So I think that the problem I see with our pastor to be here is that he has not consulted. He only consulted God, and that is it. He needs to speak to an experienced man, a senior minister. You can even go to the conference and sit with them. I know people who were, having some jobs. They still wanted to be in pastoral ministry. They went to the conference, spoke with them. The conference directed them on how to go. For instance, Pastor John Tete, he's actually in my district. He was at the Kolebu Blood Bank.
Okay.
He's now, he was ministering as a pastor. He went to Valley View, did his theological studies, and he still works there, and then he was pastoring a church. Now he has retired from the place, but he still have some years in ministry.
Right.
Okay, so he needs to receive proper counsel on how to go about it. And I think that can even help save his marriage. Right,
right. Eunice, I am coming to you, and I want you to give us a practical rundown of the role of Osofo Maame. Maybe when this lady hears that, oh, this and this is what you have to do, sorry, I beg your pardon, it will help her know what she's getting herself into, because now it's beginning to look like this daunting task that she doesn't even want to venture. So if you could give us a rundown of the role of Osofo Maame, and in your own personal opinion, do you believe that you can support in the background, or you think that you have to be at the forefront, as this lady is probably assuming? Eunice, are you muted?
Hello.
Hi.
Evie, to begin, what I would like to tell our dear sister is that even though people think to be a shepherdess, you need to be so sociable, have some kind of life pleasing, like pleasing people wherever you find yourself. Yeah, being sociable is a plus, but that doesn't mean you should lose your life. You should, even though you are doing what you are supposed to do as a shepherdess, but in all your doings, you should make sure that whatever you do commands respect, and whatever you do does not tarnish the image of your husband, because in the first place, you are a helpmeet for the minister, and you are not the minister yourself. Being in the background, I think she has the fear that because she's introvert, she wants to be at the back. But there is one thing I know personally. What I know is that God has never called those who are qualified to do his work, but instead he qualifies those who are called. So whatever weakness she has about her personality, she should pray about it, and the Lord will empower her to do what she has been called. But all this, I would like to say that is based if the husband's calling is genuine, and she has been convinced that yes, my husband has been called to be a minister, she shouldn't worry about her personality at all. The Lord will empower her to do the work. And if she thinks that there is something wrong with the calling of the husband, I think she should pray, sit down with the husband, trash out issues, and the Lord will show them the way.
Thank you, Osofo Maame. You have spoken like a true Osofo Maame. Pastor, this one, again, like the woman said, he woke up one day and said, the Lord has called him. So now, must the woman quit her job just because her husband has decided to become a pastor? Or he can be the pastor and she also be in the congregation like any other person?
Okay, so the idea of being in the congregation like any other person, in fact, I even have a problem with the idea that some people feel there's the pulpit and then there's the pew. So there are those who have come to minister unto us, and there's those of us who have come to be ministered to. The reason I believe that is unbiblical, in fact, it's not even reasonable, is because when you are going to church, you say, I'm going for church service. It means you are going to serve. So everyone come with an instrument, with a gift, with something to pour out onto another. So that when we say we are having fellowship, it is a spiritual intercourse that we are all having. There is something you are bringing to the table.
Right.
There is something I'm also bringing to the table.
Right.
So I think that for her to just quit her job, come and sit in the pews and then just observe, I think that one is very wrong. Once again, everyone have their own area of giftedness, and I think the woman should explore. I do not think that she just goes to church, sit, sing hymns, and then go back. So, Evie, let me throw the question back to you. You see, could it be that sometimes the way God works, we might not understand him? This calling may not be for the man, it could be for the woman. But God is going through the man to get to the woman, because she seemed to be actually displaced.
Yeah.
As if her whole world is crumbling down, because I am going to become something that I have never thought of and I think I cannot be. You see, so I think that perhaps it is an indirect call. So the call was directed through the man, and it is now going to the woman. For all you know, this woman will come to be a very powerful woman of God. But it has to start from somewhere. So I think that she should take her time, just reassess herself. I don't think this is something that should end in any form of a divorce.
That was even going to be my my last question. But before that, she doesn't have to quit her job, right?
She doesn't have to.
She doesn't. I think when she has that assurance, you give her, because it looks like that is one of her main concerns. But if she's certain that she can still do what she loves, I'm sure she'll be able to go
and you know
all
what?
the way out.
Evie, the thing is that talking about job, okay, who says she would stay a beautician the rest of her life? You understand? My wife was in the corporate world before we got married, and life itself changed a number of things in her life. Now she bakes, sumptuous cakes. She does all of those things. We decided to homeschool our kids, so she had to stay home, and she enjoys it. You understand? So life itself, they are just a year into marriage. Yeah. So I'm sure they don't even have kids and all that. But it has a way of, shaping who you are. Okay. And as Osofo Maame said, she's Eunice and my wife is also Eunice.
Oh, okay. I see.
So I think that when you come in, there are a whole lot of blessings that will come your way. You would be surprised, and no one have received the call of God, have accepted the call of God and regretted, unless of course the one who just did it in biara, like the way we say it. Okay, just do it anyhow, not from your heart. So I think she should take her time, and she doesn't have to quit her job. For that, I can assure her.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. Abigail, before we go, is there a middle ground here? Do you think that this is not an issue they should separate or divorce over? They can come together and have a solution. And then your final words for both the Osofo Papa and Osofo Maame.
For me, I think this is no issue. Because from the story, it seems the man doesn't have any issue with it. He's rather thinking about what people will say.
Right.
Why should you think about what people will say? It's about the two of you, what you want. So if he is okay with the job, then he should just let the wife be. Other than that, if he's not, then they can talk through it, and then someone has to compromise. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Someone has to compromise. So, but being a beautician, I don't know how that...
Yes, you're not seeing the connection.
That has anything to do with your ministry. Right, I'm doing my job. You said God has called you. Okay, so let's concentrate on yours, so that I can also concentrate on mine. And I'll help you. Right. I think you've raised something very important. Maybe this man was already not happy with this woman's job, and he's beginning to use the pastoral thing to fight his cause. Maybe he wanted to be a pastor long before they got married, and he never told the woman. You see, maybe based on her actions.
Yeah, maybe if I told her, she would not say yes to me. That's also a good point. It's true. Very, very likely. Very likely. He didn't go the route where pastor told the woman, his wife Eunice, that I'm going to be a pastor. When you be a Osofo Maame, you think you can't be, but I know you can. And then he groomed her. He didn't do that. Eunice, I'll ask you, the way forward, do you think they can find the solution? This shouldn't be something they divorce over. And then your final words for these two couple. Then I'll take past this one.
Well, I don't think this is something that should bring a divorce between the two of them. But what I would like to talk about is the lady was shocked when the husband said he's been called. It's like the call was a sudden one, and the lady was shocked about it. I would like to ask, is there something the guy is doing that the lady is finding difficult to accept that this call, dear. In fact, I doubt whether it's genuine or not, because there are kinds of calling, and one should know the edge. You are spirit filled. You see that you have the edge, the great edge to do the work of God. Maybe this lady is not seeing any of these things in the husband, so the lady is shocked that all of a sudden my husband said he's going to be a minister. So I think they can sit down, the two of them, and trash out issues. But what I would like to tell our dear lady or our dear sister is that when you become a pastor's wife or a shepherdess or a minister's wife, it gives you the opportunity to have a sweet communion with God, a sweet fellowship with God. Yes, it helps you. You grow spiritually. That is when you accept the call wholeheartedly and you do the work as you have been called to do. And to the man, there cannot be any successful ministry without the wife's commitment or support. So the two of them should sit down and trash out issue, and the Lord will direct them on what to do. Thank you.
Amen. Amen. Osofo Maame, Pastor. What's the common ground here? How do they solve this issue? And your final words.
Sure. So I think that she's actually mentioned a number of them. So I'll just go straight to the point. You know, I don't think this is something that should end in divorce, because number one, it is not one of the things that you can base on biblically to even divorce. No one has actually committed any form of adultery, so they can't. So here, what the man should do again to win the woman to his side, to make her understand. You see, some men can actually play the leadership card, as in the headship card, that I'm the head of the family, and then they may even quote scripture, wives, submit to your own husbands, and all of that. So if I say this is the direction we are going, but you see, if indeed Christ is the head of the church, he never, coerced or forced the church to do whatever he wanted to. He went with love, you understand? And even when Christ wanted the disciples to do his bidding, he asked them, Peter, do you love me? Then take care of my sheep. So he needs to negotiate. He needs to implore the wife, okay, even as if he's actually begging her that please, let's do this, and I would help you. So there's nothing love cannot, but if it is more like I have the right, it is my life, it is my ministry, then he has even lost it from the beginning. It is supposed to be our ministry and not your ministry. So if it is ours, then we need to agree that we are both going to do it. So my sister, you can do it, okay? And then also give her time. She would come to understanding.
Thank you so much. There's a comment from a pastor's wife, Sefina Efwa Arthur, who says, I'm a pastor's wife. I am an accountant, I am a marketer, I'm a businesswoman, I'm a baker, and a godly makeup artist. In fact, I even want to add modeling to it. Me, I told my husband I'll never, ever, ever marry a pastor. But here I am. It looks like your prophecy is coming through. So maybe I'll say, oh, I want to marry a pastor. Thank you so much for coming, Pastor Abigail, Osofo Maame. I think you guys have done justice to the discussion. Whatever, the man will now have to think through his decision, talk to others, as you are saying, get the right counsel. For you know, when he finds out that he can do so many things aside quitting his job and becoming a church pastor or the head of a church, he'll probably even keep his job, because like you said, it takes money to go to the school, and quitting and just no income coming in. I'm sure that he would appreciate the wise counsel. And even when he decides to quit, he realizes that it is the makeup money that they'll be using to support themselves small before money starts coming in. Thank you guys so much for coming, and thank you for your contribution. For those of you at home always watching every Wednesday, thank you so much for tuning in. I always say it's a great privilege coming your homes. We'll be back same time next week with yet another interesting story. Please remember, you can also send us your story and we will find you the right people to have the right conversation. Enjoy the rest of the content on Hope TV, and please do enjoy the rest of your day. Good night.